All right, everyone, this is Venus Brown. I am back for my final reaction to The Last of Us Season 2 for the finale. Um, so, I'm going to start out and I'm going to talk a little bit about predictions. So, if you are concerned about getting spoiled on the game or the show or anything like that, you might want to wait a few minutes, but because most of my predictions are going to come from the little bit that I remember from the game and uh, maybe a little bit from other people's predictions, but I've only watched a couple predictions. So, and those predictions weren't very good either because they were mostly going by their bias opinion that the show sucked. So, and I don't agree with that. I mean, if you've seen any of my other videos, there was only one video where I was really ranting all that much. Mostly, I don't agree that this show sucks. Yes, or no, it's not as good as the previous season, but I'm still enjoying it. Anyway, so for my predictions, um, I don't want to talk too much about what happened in this episode. We'll just say that because of what happened at the end of this episode, I do know that there is going to be a transition, most likely, from Ellie's perspective and Ellie's story to switching over to Abby's perspective and her story. Um, Now, how far they're going to go through, like the gameplay, because the game, people were complaining about how long they want to take with season 2, but the reality is that part 2 of the game had a lot of moving parts. It had a lot of things that were going on that had to happen throughout that game in order for it to progress to the end. And I wouldn't say it's the end of the story either, even though the showrunners and the game producers have already said they're probably not going to do a part 3 for the game. Um, but it goes to a certain point. And we'll just say that this season has moved from the point of Joel getting killed and Ellie starting on this vengeance quest to a certain transition point where you could make it a new season or a half season or something like that. It's a good transition point. It isn't a transition point that I thought we were going to get to, because last episode, episode 6, I didn't feel like had gotten far enough along to get to this point, but they're going to. And somebody said that they felt that this episode was too rushed, and I don't agree. I think they did it well. I think it worked out nicely. So even though I didn't think that they would have time to get to this point, I was okay with how they did it. I thought they got enough of the information in. They did well enough with the story and moving the characters along and getting along the storyline to do it justice. I thought they did a good job. Um, but I don't want to give too much away. I'm just gonna say, like I said, it's gonna be Abby's perspective, and I don't assume that the whole season will be Abby's perspective, but it could be. And I don't know what point there. I highly doubt they're going to get to the end of part 2. There is a significant portion after another transition point, which is where I think they want to do season 4, if they are able to do season 4. I don't know if they'll be able to do season 4. I don't know how season 3 is going to do. I know season 2 has not done well. I knew when I played the game and they started this show that season 2 would probably not do well for the same reasons that part 2 did not do well. But I'm one of those people that likes to see it through to the end. I like to see the end of the story. I hate it when I am entrenched in a show and they get up to a certain point and they never get to that ending. They never get to that conclusion. I hate that. When they get cut off, the show gets canceled, or the show producers decide that they've had enough, whatever the case might be, and it goes by the wayside before there's ever a real conclusion. I hate that. I do not like that. I like sticking it out. There are shows that I will stop watching, but it really takes a lot. Like, I have to be really bored, really not happy with the type of show it is, things like that, in order for me to really stop watching in the middle. But yeah, I don't foresee myself stop watching. I want to see it through to the end. I would like them to get to the end. I doubt that they will, honestly. But who knows? If they try to fit everything else that is in the storyline on the game into season 3, then we'll have two major things going, at least two major things going on, two major storylines going on, and it would be kind of cool if they figured out a way to do it, but I don't want them to do it in no fucking 7-episode season. That would be completely ridiculous. If they had like 12 episodes, I could see it. Maybe even 10, but smaller than that, no. Like, go ahead and have your 4th season if you can get it. But you're gonna, what we're likely to see is what happens in those, I think it's 3 days that Ellie and her group are over there. And I'm not sure what all Abby is seeing, but you're going to see her perspective. You're going to see what she's experiencing. You're going to see some of her group and what they're going through. So you'll get a better perspective on their thoughts and their feelings and how they're interpreting this stuff. That's as far as I can piece together what they're probably going to do. We will meet at least a couple new characters from the Seraphites. So we're going to get most likely a kind of closer, more individualized look at a couple different Seraphites and kind of the more familial perspective and a better understanding of like why they're in it, what they've experienced in this group, how this group influences them, but they're also going to go through a controversial issue which is going to put a wedge in their family dynamics. And as far as I know, if it goes anything like the game, it's going to get at least one of them pushed out. So if you think of extremist religious cults in current society, of what happens when a person in an extremist cult gets pushed out of their family and out of their religion and out of their church. That kind of stuff, and of course it's from this zombie apocalypse perspective. So some of the stuff that happens in modern day society when they are pushed out of a cult, but other stuff that is from this perspective of these people that are in the middle of a zombie apocalypse, where humanity actually has very little chance of surviving. So that's what I'm expecting. Just hold on. I gotta listen to hear who it is.
Call from
Nope. I don't usually answer place names on calls because they're usually spam, even if they're a close by area. Anyway, lost my chain of thought. I was talking about the reality of this cult and getting pushed out of a cult or leaving a cult. Maybe you deciding to leave a cult and what you're gonna go through, but also changing it to this situation where they're in the middle of a zombie apocalypse where humanity is not likely to survive. So you have that, and you have this invasion that the wolves are engaging in on top of that. So that's what I expect to see in this season. If we're going to get to that next transition point, I don't want to give you too much, but let me see if I can say this in a way that doesn't spoil too much. We'll just say that eventually Abby and Ellie get to a point where I think they've both had enough. They both have had enough. They have been fighting. Shit's been going south. As it has been, it's been going south. But because they're in the middle of it and it's between the two of them, we'll just say that eventually they have to part ways. We could say, oh, they just keep fighting forever until somebody dies. But no, eventually they get to a position where they've got to part ways. And I don't know how the show is going to do it, but they'll end up to that position where they part ways. And after that, you end up doing this whole other storyline. It's similar in some ways, but in many ways, it's a very different storyline. Much like season 2 was a very different storyline from season 1. Well, in the game, part 2 was an extremely different storyline than part 1 was. So that's what I'm expecting to see if they manage to put it all into a season 3. Then we can see some of that, and I would like to see that. I would like to see that storyline to its conclusion. But if we don't, I mean, I guess I could deal with this current what I'm figuring they'll probably get to. I'd rather not. I'd rather not stop and end there. Like if we stop and we have a break and then come back to it and do the rest, that would be fine. But if we stop and we never come back to it, I just hate that. I hate that. Anyway, let me see if I can think of some other things. Are we going to see a lot more Ellie? I think we're going to see a lot less of Ellie unless we do get to that transition point. If we get to that transition point that I'm talking about, then we should have a gap of time where we will see more Ellie. I don't know who's going to play Ellie because I know there has been a lot of pushback against Bella Ramsey playing her. I think she's done a good job, but a lot of people are just they want to complain because she doesn't look like Ellie, because she doesn't act like Ellie from the game. I don't agree that it's a big enough gaffe to warrant completely changing her. And honestly, changing actors and actresses for the same character after a certain point when they haven't really aged up significantly, and this is not gonna be an aging up significantly. I mean, it could be, but not likely. To me, that's not, if you're just changing when they're in that same time frame, changing the actors or actresses when they're in that same time frame, it just ruins the show. It ruins the show. So many shows have been freaking just gone to crap because they freaking changed the wrong person in the middle of the freaking show. So I really hope they don't do that, even though people are complaining left and right, claiming that Bella Ramsey's not a good actress. I completely disagree with that. Some of them claiming, oh no, she's a fine actress. She just doesn't fit this role. And I don't really agree with that. There are some mannerisms that she has that aren't quite in line, but mostly I think she does a good job. And then also some people that think that that Dever should have been put in her place as Ellie, and because of her appearance, because of her physical appearance. And I'm sorry, physical appearance isn't everything. And I think she has done a good job as Abby. And I think Bella has done a good job as Ellie, but that's my opinion. Anyway, I think it's about time we get started with the episode. So this is the season finale, season 2 finale, called Convergence. And it's kind of multiple for multiple reasons, not multiple meanings, but for multiple reasons. A convergence. So you have this point where things are converging. You're going to have this convergence where we're switching from Ellie's story and Ellie's perspective to the very end to Abby's. Okay, so you have that convergence, which happens at the very end. But you also have this storm that they're calling a convergent storm, I'm pretty sure. And that is another type of convergence. So still same meaning, I think, that it's converging from one thing to another, but a very different thing. Anyway, let's go ahead and get this show started. I'm going to leave my volume going for a little bit while I get the video set up. We got that. And okay, now I'm going to turn it off. All right, everyone, this is Venus Brown. I am back with another episode of The Last of Us. This is not a first time reaction because I messed up my sound recording last time. It sounded horrible, and no matter what I did to try to fix it, it just didn't sound nearly good enough. Not for my taste, and I doubt for anybody else's taste. So I am re-recording. Whatever reaction you see is my reaction. Whatever talking you see is the talking that I feel like doing. So even though I've already watched it, I'm not gonna pretend what I already reacted. It will just be whatever it is that I am going to react the second time around. Anyway, this is the season finale called Convergence, episode 7. Let's go ahead and get started with this episode. And I did find it interesting that they started right off with this intro, because it seems like the last several times it's been either this is what you've seen before previously on Last of Us, or they'll at least put a little beginning clip to start off before they put the intro on. And it also doesn't look like they have changed it since Joel died on the show.
I know. Have some, okay?
No.
It's gonna help. Have some.
I said no.
And right there, she just gave away that pregnancy. I didn't realize it at the time, but it made sense that he did figure it out. She's like, I don't have time for you. Or not even, I don't have time. My focus is elsewhere. And people were commenting about her in the game being too messed up to be involved with any of what Ellie was doing at the time. I don't remember, like, there is so much that I do not remember from this part of the game. Like, this whole her chasing down Abby, all I remember is a trail of friends. Just a trail of friends. Like, one clue leading to another clue, that kind of thing. Outside of that, I don't really remember a lot. But I also don't think that Dina was that messed up the entire time they were in the theater. I just don't remember very well. I did feel like a lot of what I saw on the episode very well mirrored the stuff that I do remember from the episode, or from the game. That rage was driving you. I am glad she at least feels like she has somebody she can talk to now, and that she was willing to actually talk.
Yeah, well, maybe she got what she deserved. Maybe she didn't.
These reflections, these parallels, shot him in the head. This kind of stuff is messy. People want to demonize several of the characters in this, but like, it's a fucking zombie apocalypse. They all do a lot of horrible shit, and they all go through tons of horrible shit. Expecting them to take the high road or do the right thing in everything they do is just not realistic, and especially those things where their passions or their anger or their rage are driving them. And other people had said that in the game Tommy had actually left first, and Ellie was following the path that Tommy left behind. And I did not remember that. Like, there's so much I just didn't remember. I just remembered trail of friends, trail of clues.
Look, I know you're angry.
Last night, Dina said, I can't die. Not, I don't want to die. I can't. And then I offered her whiskey and she refused. Dina, the girl who's never turned down a free drink in her life.
Power it off.
Surprised. Oh, up at the top, I don't think it's too big a spoiler, but they have these bridges going from one building to another, and that's how some of the Seraphites get across the buildings. My mom's been calling to help my autistic brother out with vital records and stuff, so have to listen just in case it's her. He's right, Ellie. He's right. It sucks, but that is far beyond your ability to deal with. And I didn't remember any of his part in the game, really. When she said that, she's fucked off. I'm like, yeah, that's not the only time she fucked off when she went and killed Joel. Is this really the person you want to depend on to lead your frickin' army? Everything's got a moral if you can find it. Read to baby. Is your mama a llama? She took it. Awkward. Like coffee. Yep. They did say he's probably going to be the next person in charge. Dina, Tommy. Whew, whew, whew. Now, this part, when I saw this part, I was like, holy shit! It like really helped jog my memory about a bunch of the game. Because like a bunch of stuff happened in that area. Before I saw that, I didn't remember that part. And I was pretty sure he did not vote for her. Because when I was editing my video, I went and took a really close look at those papers. And it looked like there was a no. I couldn't tell for sure.
You let a kid die today, Jesse. Which is why he wasn't in your community. Let me tell you about my community. My community was beaten to death in front of me while I was forced to fucking watch.
And that's one of the things the showrunners talk about, is this reality that, you know, from a different perspective, you're going to see the other side as bad, not because they're bad people, but because they're not part of your community. Like, you treat the people in your circles different than you treat other people, which is also what she basically had said in that speech to the board members. But yeah, when I was looking back through the edits, and I tried as hard as I could to look at that paper as well as I could, and it looked like there was a no on it. You couldn't really tell for sure. So I didn't think he had actually voted for her. And community or not, I still think that's jacked up. I understand the repercussions. I think what they should have done is opened it up for amendments. You don't need 16 people going on a thing like this. You need somebody spying things out before they leave. But to just like shoot them down like that with people that you know have a very vengeful, violent side, you know they're going to go after him. Like, make sure that it's reasonable. Make sure that there is some semblance of protection. Don't just shoot them down so that they're going to go out on their own. I still don't understand exactly why he feels like him and the other lady are going to die tonight. I realize that they're planning this big thing, and you want to be prepared, but telling her we're probably not going to live through the night or whatever. I didn't feel like whatever happened should have warranted him thinking he would die. Like, it's dangerous. A lot of people probably will die, but not necessarily they're going to die. Yeah, I don't think there's any outrunning that thing. Yeah, I remembered little bits of this, but not all of it. And I thought she was like, I don't know, I thought she was on a bucket or box or something. Although I might be thinking of somebody else. And I did remember them getting called away after they got called away, but before that I didn't remember it at all. And on the game, all these little areas like this, I always like would take so long to figure out how I'm going to get anywhere. And then like trying to get there, and it would just take me forever of trying over and over and over again to get up on certain things, to figure out where I need to go and what I need to do. But eventually I got it. But yeah, so much of this is just very reflective of the game, of gameplay. Yeah, because even though I couldn't remember before, once it got into this chain of events, it like really started remembering a lot of the stuff. Oh, yeah. Didn't remember this stuff. Didn't remember what the heck was going on. But like the coloring and the design of everything, definitely remembered that stuff, and it looks very, very much like what was in the game to me. Gonna try to listen to what they were saying, because my mom was calling me at the time that this stuff coming up happened, and I don't remember a lot of it. It's really stupid. Like, you guys bludgeoned the shit out of somebody and killed them in front of her face. Why would you not expect somebody from that community to come after y'all? Oh, it's like how Joel tried to get information from that one guy.
Oh God.
Call from WFM.
Not my mom. She's too far gone.
WFM.
So this because I couldn't remember a lot of the details. I didn't remember exactly what happened. I just remember that like almost all the deaths, they seemed like while these things were happening, like there were reasons. It wasn't like you were trying to be this horrible, vengeful person. But then later on, when Abby starts going through, it just, everything that she finds makes everything look so much more horrible and horrific. Because imagine coming in and finding your friends like this, and one of them's freaking pregnant, and they've both just been left for dead.
I let you live. And you wasted it.
See, I have no fucking respect for that shit. When fucking Joel tried to kill her, or no, Joel didn't try to kill her. When Joel said that he saved her life, she fucking retorted with, what life? Like, her fucking trauma had caused her so much misery, she felt like she didn't have a fucking life. And she's freaking like, oh, you wasted it because I fucking let you live? You let her live after her watching you fucking kill somebody she really gives a shit about. Even if you don't know who the fuck she is at all. She knew that they fucking cared about each other. She knew that she fucking bludgeoned the shit out of him and then stabbed him to death right in front of her. And now she gets to fucking live with that grief and that fucking vision in her head for the rest of her fucking life. And she's like, you wasted this life that I let you have because I let you go. What the fuck? But yeah, I don't remember all the fucking details of the game, but I do remember switching over to playing Abby after this. And, just the entire time you're playing her after this shit happened, like the fucked up shit, like, can you imagine? Like, you watched her freaking bludgeon Joel to death and kill him. And then you watch her fucking kill one of your friends and then try to kill your other friends and you. And then you have to start playing her. Oh my God. Just, it was so infuriating trying to play that girl. But you do go through the events. That's why it went to Seattle day one when they showed her at that stadium. You go through the events of those days and you basically see the aftermath. And that is probably big spoiler. I will try to put a freaking reminder with a timestamp when I air my live stream, but Jesus freaking criminy. What the fucking fuck? I mean, I get that it's really messy, and I get that both sides have their reasons that they did what they did. They both have severe fucking trauma and PTSD. But when you're in the middle of playing these people and this stuff happens and you don't know what's going on, you know, what they've experienced in their perspective, it's like, oh my God, you're so freaking angry. Like, why do I have to play this person? Why do I have to do this stuff? I still liked the game. It just took me a while to realize what was good about the game because that stuff made me so angry. Anyway, it's time to go back to my live self. Alright, everyone, I'm back on. So, that was the last episode. That ending really, oh my God, I was just like, what the fuck? Just, holy shit, I did not remember that Jesse was killed. I'm still not sure he was killed. I think he was, but I definitely didn't remember it in the game. Oh my God. I just remembered fighting Abby. Holy hell. Okay, so we're going to go ahead. We're going to do the worsts and bests and all of that. So, best scene. I had a hard time deciding on this. I actually went to my youngest kid and asked them for their opinion because I just could not decide. And I kind of agreed. So their decision was they were like either the scenario with the scars where they tried to string Ellie up, or the scenario where the girl that's pregnant gets shot and Ellie is trying to, she looks like she's going to try to do something, but she doesn't know what she's doing, and she doesn't end up doing anything. And so we're going with the pregnancy scenario. I don't know, I felt like the scar thing could have been done a little bit better. It reminded me too much of every horror game where the village gets called out and they turn around and go it was just too game-like and not I don't know, not show and realistic enough to me. Anyway. The worst scene, very close to the same place, but before any of that happened. When Ellie is walking up and she's hearing them talking. And instead, to me, she should have stayed there, listened in as long as she could to gather as much information from their conversation as she could, and then walked in after they said as much as she figured they're going to say. Instead, she walked in as soon as she got over to that spot. Yes, she's collected some information, but I feel like she could have gotten a lot more. So that to me was worst scene. And when I was trying to, before I asked my kid, when I was trying to decide on a best scene, I did think that the dying pregnant woman was a very good scene, but I was like, it's so close to when I said the worst scene was, so I wasn't sure that I really wanted to include it because it was like back to back, you know? But it was very good, both in the game and on the show. Really had me going, really bothered me a lot in both scenarios, when I'm playing the game and when I'm watching the show, that this poor girl, like the one that looked like she was probably the most against all of this stuff from beginning to end, the one that objected to it the most, the one that tried to convince others not to do these things the most, ends up accidentally getting killed because of being caught in the crossfire. And I could get mad at Owen all I want, but he did what probably a lot of people would do. Some of them are going to try to play the safe route and do what Ellie said, but some of them are going to try to fight it out. Now, he maybe should have thought twice about the fact that Mel was right behind him, but you're not really thinking in that kind of scenario. You are reacting. That is very a reactive situation. You're reacting. You are not thinking things through logically, which is the reality in a lot of stuff like this, where people like get mad at characters for doing awful things that result, or even not necessarily doing awful things, but doing things that result in other people getting harmed. Like, when you're in a reactive situation like that, you are not really thinking. You are not planning stuff out. Even if you had a plan before, in that moment, you are not planning things out. You are not thinking logically. You are thinking from the base of your brain. Very instinctive, or you're freezing up, which is also another base of your brain thing. Like, so yeah, I don't blame Owen for what he did. I just wish he would have, done a little better. Just not put her in the danger that she was in. Granted, it's Ellie's fault. She shot. She was in there, but Ellie was after Abby. Ellie had just cause for being after Abby. No matter how awful you think what she's doing is, she had just cause for what she wanted to do to Abby. And I don't think, if things had gone differently, I don't think she would have killed any of Abby's friends unless they did what Nora did, which is refuse to tell her. And even Nora, she said she didn't kill. She said she basically just kept hurting her until she talked. But she was going to die anyway because she was infected. Oh, gosh. Anyway, so that's worst scene, best scene. Okay. VIP of the episode, I am giving to Jesse. Not because he died at the end. Whether he died at the end or not, I give it to Jesse because over and over and over again in the episode, he came back. Even when his brain was telling him that this wasn't wise, that this isn't a good idea, when he was mad at Ellie multiple times throughout the episode, he still kept coming back. Not just because he's a good guy, but because this is his friend. And like he said towards the end, that he realized that if he was in a situation, anything like that, then they would have fucking set the world on fire to save him. Granted, Ellie's like that, but Ellie is like that only with certain people, and Jesse's one of them. Her close-knit group of friends are probably the only people she would do something like that for. But she would. But yeah, because he kept coming back. He kept doing the hard things, making the hard decisions, even though logically he's like, this doesn't benefit the community. This is putting us all in danger. She's making these decisions. She's deciding to go against her better judgment. But he still came back. There's that loyalty, even if he doesn't think it's wise. Even if he doesn't think what they're doing is wise, and he doesn't think what Ellie is doing is wise. So, definitely VIP of the episode. Piece of the episode, fucking Abby. Like, I understand from the gameplay that she had her reasons, that what she goes through puts her in a scenario where she might do that. And frankly, Ellie's group would have probably done the fucking same thing. Multiple people in Ellie's group probably would have done the same fucking thing if they were in a similar scenario. But, Jiminy fucking Christmas. Like, Abby, yes, she's fucking traumatized. Yes, she has PTSD. Yes, her father was unjustly killed because Joel went on a fucking violent rampage and killed every goddamn person in that hospital except for the 2 nurses, I think. And killed her father. But some of the shit that Abby does, this insistence that I have to do this slowly, I have to make it, yeah, a lot of people, that's how they see justice. Like, you did something really gruesome and horrible and awful, so I have to do something really gruesome and horrible and awful to you. Or somebody else does. Whatever. But, Jesus freaking criminy. Just bludgeoning the crap out of him. And then to fucking kill him right in front of Ellie. And she somehow thinks that letting Ellie live was this great gift that Ellie wasted. Yet she went through, from the very beginning, when her dad first died, they showed her saying that she was going to find him and kill him slowly, from the very beginning. So it was already bothering her that much. From the beginning. And she went through years of this turmoil with that shit replaying in her head. And that feeling festering. Yet she can't transfer the same associations and feelings over to somebody else going through a similar thing. You bludgeoned and killed somebody she loves and cares about right in front of her face. That image, even if it wasn't somebody she cared about, that image would be playing again and again in her head over and over again, most likely for the rest of her life. But because it is somebody that she really cared about, and you could tell that in the little bit of time that she was in the room before fucking Abby killed him. So she should have known. No matter where her head was, she should have known that leaving her alive after seeing that image is going to be playing again and again and again in her head. And that same fucking revenge and vengeance and anger and hatred and festering that she went through because of what Joel did to her dad is the same kind of shit that this person's going to go through. And when you see them again and you see that they came after you, which should have been common sense, that if they find any information, somebody's gonna fucking come after us. And most likely, it's gonna be somebody that's directly involved, that really gives a shit about this guy. So she should have known somebody was gonna come after them if they found out anything. But also, she shouldn't have been assuming that her coming after her like that is her wasting the life that she let her have. That was just like, what the actual fuck. Yeah, there's a lot of things that Abby does that are not just about vengeance. They are not just about her fucking PTSD and trauma. They are about like this, the fact that she keeps stringing this entire group of friends into this. Not just 1 or 2 people. Like this whole group of friends, she has been doing this. And then Isaac saying that he was looking to her to be the leader should he die. When she has obviously had loyalties elsewhere. From the beginning, we know that, I mean, granted, he can't necessarily see what we saw when she was over at her father's gravesite. But she has had loyalties elsewhere all along. when she came there in the first place, it was supposed to be to kind of get their bearings, learn some stuff, get prepared, and then go out, find this guy, and kill him. From the beginning. Her loyalties were elsewhere. And then she brings her group of friends with her. And I understand that whole, like, bringing them along on this situation where she's trying to go after Joel. And I understand her friends having mixed feelings about it. Thinking he truly deserves to die, but not necessarily being all up for the kind of death that she was prepared to give. But then to do it again a second time, like pulling every single one of them into this, well, except I don't know where Owen was at that point. He maybe wasn't pulled in, but like pulling all these people in that don't necessarily agree with her doing this shit and putting them in imminent danger. And that is exactly what she was doing, was putting them in imminent danger. And I don't remember, though, if that's what they were doing when they were in the Seattle aquarium. I don't remember why they were there. I don't remember what was going on with the bandages and shit like that were over there. I do remember on the game there was a dog in that aquarium, and Ellie ended up shooting the dog because I think the dog was trying to kill her. So yeah, and that didn't happen. Probably, I would imagine they didn't want the blowback that would occur from that. Like, I hate it when I watch shows where the fucking animals die, where people mistreat animals, where they get killed, all of that stuff. I almost feel more sympathy and empathy for the animals than I do the people. And I think a lot of people do. Anyway, let's see. So, we've got... No, I already did the VIP and the piece of shit for the episode. So, now, last part is ranking of the episodes. I've got it written down. Okay. Had a hard time with this. I'm going to go in reverse order. And the 3 lowest scores were the ones I had the hardest time with, because I could not decide which one I wanted to be in 5th, 6th, and 7th place. But I finally made a decision. So, I'm going to start from the bottom, the 7th place. 7th place, the 5th episode. Just because, yes, there was some very interesting stuff that happened. There was some really good graphics and really good effects going on with some of the stuff that was occurring in that episode. But I just wasn't feeling it. I wasn't feeling it. I didn't feel like it was... Didn't feel like it was good enough. I didn't feel like it rose to the occasion of the rest of the show. Episode 3. Now, episode 3 I thought was very important, dealing with the grief of all of these people dying and, really showing some of that, showing some of the emotion. It's just that, like I think several people have said, it felt more like a filler episode. It felt like we could have moved the story along a lot more. We could have gotten a lot further, and we didn't. Some of the grieving stuff was very important. I needed that myself, and I think a lot of other people may have needed it, but maybe finding a way to transition through that more quickly and then move along to progress the story along further, I would have found better. Okay. Um, fifth place, the first episode. And some people complained about the first episode because it's not moving the story along, blah blah blah, whatever. It's not as good as the rest of the series, and like, it is a beginning episode. You have to set up the show. I think it did what it was supposed to do. It set up the show, set up the characters. I thought it did a very good job at presenting Jackson Hole, the people there, the community, how things are ran, the situation that Ellie and Joel were in, this division between them that seemed to exist, yet not really explaining why, because it was not time to explain why. It was not time for us to know that stuff. Some people complained that in episode 1 there were all these questions that were asked, but there were no answers. But it's the first episode. And those questions were not meant to be answered until well later. So I didn't have a problem with that. It's just that it wasn't as great as some of the other ones. Okay, so that was 5th place. 4th place, episode 6. I liked episode 6 a lot for what it was. I did not at all like that it took the entire episode for them to go through flashbacks. I really, really wish that they would have done a better job at condensing that and at least made like the second half of it progressing on with the storyline instead of staying in flashbacks the entire episode. But I did like the way it was done. I liked that we got those important memories out. I liked that we really had kind of like a journey through their relationship after the point that happened in Salt Lake City. So we got filled in on what was happening. We got filled in on what went on with Eugene. We got filled in on a lot of things leading us up to the point that we were at the beginning. So I really appreciated it for that, but I did not like that they used the entire episode for flashbacks. Okay. 3rd place was this episode, episode 7. I really liked this episode. There was a lot going on. They did a lot to really progress the story, to move it along, but they moved it too fast. I felt like with as much as they had to do, they did a good job at presenting it. But I was still a little upset that it moved along as fast as it did. And I think because it moved along as fast as it did, some of those scenarios that went on didn't get the kind of depth and emotion and stuff like that that they should have gotten, because you're trying to condense all of that into one episode. So they did very well with the episode, considering how much they had left to go, but because they were trying to condense all of that into the last episode, it still made it so that some of the really emotional parts of that episode weren't able to really be pulled through because you're trying to push too much into it at one time. All right. 2nd place. Okay, 1st and 2nd place I had a little bit of a hard time with. So what do we have left? We have episode 4 and episode 2. Yes, episode 2 is where Joel dies. It's a really awful thing that happens. But episode 2 was very exciting. There was so much going on. And it wasn't like condensing too much. It was like there was just all this stuff happening at the same time. And so it was very intense. It was very entertaining. It was very engaging. And at first I was going to give At first I was going to give first place to episode 2, but instead I gave it to episode 4. So episode 4 is first place, episode 2 is second place. Why? Because the same reasons that I really loved episode 2. It's exciting. There's a lot of stuff going on. Things are really moving along. And it's done, to me, at a good pace. Was also happening in episode 4. But on top of that, episode 4 progressed these things that I really felt needed to be progressed. Ellie's and Dina's relationship, like, really, that was majorly served. And I know some people get aggravated about LGBTQ stories getting too much airtime and getting too much play, and people using cheesy lines and stereotypes and tropes and all of that. And everybody has shitloads of reasons to bag and shit on any LGBTQ story that they can find. No matter how you do it, somebody's going to shit on them. But to me, LGBTQ stories are not usually done with the amount of depth and complexity and feeling that is needed. They are not usually done in a way that presents them as real people with real problems in real life situations where they have to deal with the same kind of fucking shit that everybody else does. But they also have to do it in their reality. And their reality is, in this situation, that you're dealing with a person who is gay, who has known it and has been open about it for a while. What was it Ellie said? That she's not brave, she's obvious. You know, and I think some people are like that. So you have that person that's in that situation who really cares about this person who has for a long time. And then this other one who probably has cared about Ellie every bit as much for a very long time also, but has been hiding her own feelings, who's bisexual. There are realities, there are complexities and depths of feeling, of emotion, of experience that all of them are gonna go through. And the other relationships that are going on. Because this is a reality. That when you have a society that demonizes and oppresses people for their gender identity, for their sexual identity, for all of that, to the point that people want to shove that shit down and not show it in front of people, you're gonna have people having these relationships with others that maybe they aren't there with. That maybe aren't, you know, that. But it isn't even that. Like, Jesse and Dina both said that they really love each other, they really care about each other, but not in that way. So these things happen. These kinds of relationships happen in these kinds of people's real lives. So having those complexities, I am always happy to have these extra complexities. I don't like a lot of the tropes and stuff like that, but sometimes a little bit of, tropes come partially from a place of reality, from people's real experiences. They also come partially from the people that are outside of those groups making assumptions about those groups, making judgments against those groups based on their assumptions from their seats. Where they're not a part of this group, but they're making these judgments and assumptions about this group. So that's where some of those tropes and shit come from. But some of it is from real experiences, real life. So I was glad the way they did it. And the one line that people really seem to have a problem with was Ellie saying, "I'm going to be a daddy." I had no problem with that at all. I thought it was very, very well in line with Ellie's kinds of humor. She may not have pulled it off quite as well as some people thought she should have, but I thought it was perfectly fine. And it is a reality that Ellie is going to be thinking about. There's nothing wrong with her calling herself a daddy. You have people in relationship experiences like that where there is going to be a child brought into that relationship where they're not even in a love relationship with the other parent. But they might still call themselves a daddy if they're playing a role of a father, even if they're not a male. And they might still call themselves a mommy, even if they don't love that parent and they are not a female and don't have a feminine gender identity. Even in those situations, we still sometimes use those terms to define that role that we're given. Because we're playing a more father-like role, we're going to call ourselves a daddy. Because we're playing a more mother-like role, we're going to call ourselves a mommy. Whether you are straight, bi, gay, trans, intersex, cisgender, those terms get used in real life situations. So people getting all upset and perturbed that that was going over the line, that that was too much, or it was too cheesy, or it was too tropey. I just don't agree. I don't agree. Anyway. But yeah, I liked the progression that was made in that episode. I liked the amount of intensity. I liked the shit that was going on. Oh my gosh, there was so much going on, but it wasn't done in a way that was too fast and too off pace or too off kilter. It worked really well. We progressed a lot of stuff in that episode in a way that I did not think was too quick a pace or too slow a pace. And we touched on a lot of issues and really got, in my opinion, a lot of growth. And really put several of these characters through an arc that maybe should have been spread out more throughout the season, but it still was done very well. So that's my opinion. Now, that is my ranking. I'm pretty sure I got through all 7 through 1st. Now, for next season, I already did my predictions for next season. I think there was one other thing that I wanted to say, but I can't think of what it was right now. Yeah, I can't think of what it was right now. So we're done with the predictions. The thing that I got to deal with now is that there is supposed to be a 3rd season coming at some point, but we don't know when. It could be a year from now. It could be 2 years from now. From my understanding, they were supposed to start filming while this season was airing, and instead they're probably going to start filming in June, which means summer, which is, still a couple months down the road. And filming takes a while. Filming takes from what I heard, it took them over half a year to do the filming process. And then you've got fucking production and post-production and all of that shit before you can ever get to where you're freaking airing anything. So what I'm hearing is that likeliness, if everything goes well, and they start film production in June, and everything goes the way it's supposed to, and you go by the timelines that we've had on previous gaps between seasons, that the likeliness is it could be out the end of 2026, it could be out in sometime in 2027. I don't know. But it's not surprising.
Call
Like
from out WFM.
everything with these big shows has been like freaking taking forever. So I do wish that they would focus more on maybe simpler, shorter episodes, something like that, but push them out faster, push them out easier, not freaking have these freaking over a year long gaps between seasons, because that is frustrating. And I have a short-term memory problem, so I forget a lot of stuff. But anyway, this is what I'm thinking for whenever it does come out, if it still comes out, because even though they have been renewed for season 3, there's still no guarantee. The company could freaking change their mind. They could pull the rug out from under them. They've done it before. But if it still goes through and we have a season 3, and even better if we have a season 4, I will be there for it. But I will probably be doing it this way, live stream, but I'm going to do it a little different. So when it's getting ready, when each episode is getting ready to air, so long as they're doing it one episode at a time, I will do a pre-watch, probably an hour before it's supposed to air. I'll do a pre-watch. We'll talk about whatever I'm going to talk about. I will try to make it more engaging so it won't just be my image there the whole time with me talking the whole time. We'll try to talk about previous episodes if we've already seen them. I think the first episode will probably be talking about the previous season. And we'll probably be talking about whatever we have heard through the grapevine that might be going on with the new season. But when episodes have occurred already, I'll be talking about the previous episode. I'll try to do like I did with this at the end of this. I did the ranking. Well, instead I'll do it on the pre-watch. So we'll do the VIP of the episode, the piece of shit of the episode. I might relabel it, but for right now I'm okay with VIP a piece of shit. Some people might not like that, but I'm okay with it. The best scene and worst scene. And there's probably some other things that I could add on. And I'm also going to do more to ask anybody who happens to be watching, if anybody's watching, questions. So I have not really done that on this, but I will try to make sure I do that on that. I am going to try to have poll questions, but I still have not figured out how to get it to work on YouTube. On Streamlabs, because I'm doing this through Streamlabs. I'm pretty sure there was supposed to be a way for me to do the poll questions on Streamlabs, and when I tried to do it, it did not work. So I've got to figure out a way to do that. If I can't, then maybe I'll create graphic images and put them up with questions and just let people answer in the comment section or something like that. But hopefully I can get the polls working, and then I can just put the poll question up and have you guys take a poll. If anybody's watching, take a poll, put the results of the poll up. We'll see. That's what I would like to try to do. And then we can try to make some guesses and predictions as to what is going to happen in the coming episode, since it'll be a pre-watch and it'll be before the episode drops. We can try to make those guesses without me having ever seen the episode. And that's a big part of the reason why I want to do the pre-watches, because the way I'm doing it now, it doesn't allow that. It doesn't allow for that because I have already watched the episode and recorded the episode before I do these live streams. If I do a pre-watch, then I don't have to worry about that. I won't have watched the episode. I will still have the knowledge I have from the gameplay and whatever previews I've watched, but I won't have already watched the episode. So we can make some guesstimates and reflections and stuff like that in the pre-watch. We could talk about the previous episode, if it was shitty or good or whatever, in the pre-watch. And then after I'm done with the pre-watch, we'll close that down and I will turn off my live stream and I will go ahead and watch the episode. I will probably do the next part the same way I've been doing this and record my reaction, edit my reaction, and I do that also because I can go ahead and load my edited reaction onto YouTube in private instead of public and find out if it's going to clear copyright. If it's going to clear without any copyright flags. For the most part, I can make sure that what I recorded and what I've edited will make it through that copyright thing. And then that way I can post what I have edited that made it through without any copyright flags on the live stream. And I can do whatever editing I need to do without having to worry about, did I forget to turn something on? Did I forget to turn something off? Did I mess something up? Whatever. So, or like the episode that we just finished with, episode 7, my mic was not good. Okay, so I have this mic, which I usually use, and it's a decent mic. It has decent sound. And even if something messes up on it, I can usually fix it to where it sounds good. The problem is, we went on vacation. I took my mic with me when I hooked it back up. The microphone, the line that said it had that microphone on there had reverted to default. So rather than having the mic that I needed to record with on, it was using whatever was on default, and I don't know what it was that was on default, but it sounded horrible. It was blocking a lot of what was being said. It was blocking a lot of the sound out. So a lot of what I was saying, a lot of the noises that were being made was not in there. And I tried to fix the sound, but no matter what I did, it just still sounded horrible. So, and with being able to edit the stuff and look at it later, that gives me time to look and see, did I really mess this up? Is the sound really horrible? Is the visuals really horrible? Whatever. But I also, because I've already watched the episode, I can think about, it gives me time to unwind and think about, what did I really like about the episode? What did I really dislike about the episode? Was there a character that I thought did particularly good or particularly bad? Was there other stuff that I wanted to think about? It gives me time. Whereas if I'm trying to come up with that stuff right after I watched it on live stream, I have to sit there and think, and I can't cut that out like I do with my reactions. And my thought process sometimes take a while. I have a head injury. I was probably already on the neurological spectrum before then, but I have a severe head injury from an auto accident, from a very bad auto accident that I'm very lucky to have lived through. But it causes some short-term memory loss, and it causes some executive function issues and things like that. So it's just easier for me to be able to kind of go in behind the scenes and fix this stuff rather than trying to do it on the fly where my brain doesn't process this stuff fast enough to do it on the fly, to turn things off and on and all of that. It's too much for me to think, and there's been way too many times where I've tried to do that and forgot to turn the volume back on, or forgot to turn the volume back off, or forgot to turn a certain screen on, or forgot to turn a certain screen off, or forgot to transition to a different scene or whatever. So it's just easier to take care of it in the editor. Anyway, I think that's all I got for you. I know I went on for a long time. We're like 2 hours into this live stream. But yeah. So if anybody really wants to do this next time we have a fucking season with Last of Us, I plan on doing this with Last of Us. We'll do the pre-watch. I'll go ahead, record my reaction to the episode after the pre-watch is over, and then I will live stream that later on. I will try to make it faster though, so maybe a day or two later instead of 3 or 4 days after they drop the episode. But yeah, I'll do a pre-watch right before the episode. Then I will turn off my live stream. I will record the episode. I will edit the episode, and then we'll do a live stream of the full length. And it seems like the edits that I've been doing have been working to make it so that I don't get in trouble for copyright. So most of the sound is gone. The sound that I have is an audio track of music that that I already have a license on. I don't think I posted the information for it, but I do have a license on it. I probably should post the information for that somewhere in there, but anyway, and then sometimes having it stretched out across the top, it's very distorted, and that's part of why it doesn't get picked up. And then having just the subtitles with the very bottom of the picture on the bottom when I'm just doing subtitles. And then every once in a while I'll put an actual clip with the video and the sound going without it distorted. So that's the only part that really is fully like it was in the show. So that's probably why it's not getting any copyright flags on it. Like, not even every once in a while with one of the other live streams I did, it was it would give me like, in this region it's not going to be aired, but in all the other regions it will. I'm not even getting that. I'm not even getting a partial copyright block. So that's been going well, and that's with the changes that I've made. I will probably try to change the format up a little bit, but it will probably be that same basic idea. Stretched and skinny up at the top part of the time, and subtitles with the bottom of the image part of the time, especially when there's a lot of dialogue going on. And then every now and then a very short clip with the video and the sound. And then at the end I can do a short discussion of what I thought of the show. But because we're going to do all the judging and stuff on the pre-watch, I can just make it a discussion, how I felt about the show, what I thought about certain scenes and certain scenarios, things like that. Just maybe a little bit more of a deeper discussion if I want to, and if I'm not feeling it, because there are times where I record reactions or I do live streams and I'm too tired, or I'm not feeling well, or I've got like a lot of other stuff on my mind, and so then I might not be as into it, so if that happens, then I can cut it short. I can say, okay, I'm not really feeling it, and I've already said what I need to say, and then move on. But all right, y'all, that's it. You can see me whenever you want to see me. I am still doing Handmaid's Tale episodes. I still have not watched the season finale. And I'm still editing some of the other episodes. So there's still, I think, I don't know, 3 or 4 episodes of Handmaid's Tale left that I still need to air. I should have them all out on time. I do them once a week. I am still doing Tokyo Ghoul, but I'm coming towards the end of that also. Once I'm done with Tokyo Ghoul, I'll be starting on Attack on Titan. Once Handmaid's Tale is done, I believe I'm going to be starting on, is it Gen V, I think. I think it's Gen V. So that's what's coming up. That's what's coming around the bend. After that, we'll see. But, yeah. If you want to see any of that, you can go to my channel, and there should be links. I have things set up in playlists, so if you have like a specific show that you like more than others, you can go to my playlist and see what I have in my list of playlists, which they're all categorized mostly. They're categorized mostly according to what show they are, but sometimes they are categorized as just my reactions, or like a trailer talk or something like that, because sometimes I'll do reactions to the teasers and trailers, which before season 3 does start, if they do season 3, I will probably do a reaction to the trailers. I might do some other thing. If I find some good stuff on YouTube, I might do some other thing. But, yeah. Anyway. Handmaid's Tale. Still working on that. It's almost done. Tokyo Ghoul. Still working on that. It's almost done. When those are done, Attack on Titan and Gen V. I keep thinking The Boys, but no, I think it's Gen V. It's the one with the kids, not the one with the adults. The one where they're in college. That's the one that I'll be working on. I put one episode up before. I may redo it. So it'll still be the same reaction, but I may edit it differently. We'll see. I haven't decided. I'm pretty sure that I recorded those episodes in the living room with that bright blue background, which messes up my skin tone and my hair color and all this other stuff. But I'm still going to use those, edit those, get those out anyway. So if you want to see me once a week, each of those episodes, I do reactions. I don't know when I'm going to do another live stream. It depends on what's coming out. I usually only do the live stream when there's a show that I really would like to do, but I'm already doing a couple of shows because I don't have that much time. So if there's another show that comes out while I'm doing reactions for a couple other shows, then I might do it on live stream. It probably, though, will be well before season 3 of The Last of Us comes out. We'll see. Oh yeah, and Handmaid's Tale is finishing up, and they are working on what is it called? It's their spin-off. I can't think of the word right now. Testaments. They are working on Testaments. So maybe that will be the next one that I do a live stream on. But no, I think Testaments is one that I'm going to make sure I do reactions for. So we'll see. It depends. It seems like when I have shows that I really want to do content for, it's like they all come out around the same time. And then they have these big gaps where there's nothing really that I care that much about that I want to do. But I do know that Testaments is coming up. I know that the Game of Thrones universe is working on that new series with Dunk and Egg. I can't remember the name of it, but I know they're working on that. I don't know exactly when that's coming out, but I will be doing, most likely, I'll be doing reactions to it. But if Testaments and that show come out at the same time, I will probably do one as a live stream and the other as a reaction. And it will probably be Testaments as a reaction and the Dunk and Egg series as a live stream. If they don't come out at the same time, then that shouldn't be a problem. That's all I got for you. I'll see you when I see you.